All right. Here we are. Really happy to welcome back a college football and horse racing expert that you've heard here many times, and Chris Fallica from Fox Sports Big Noon Kickoff and the Bear Bets podcast. Chris, my man, here we are. Are you in the holiday spirit this week?
Oh yeah, I'm getting there. I'm a little jaded, and right now I'm a little bit of a I hate everything type mode right now. Off of the results we had in the college football playoff, that even though we kind of should have expected it, being that we added teams who were going to have to play a road game against good teams and kind of diluted. So I'm just a little I'm in a little bah humbug mood right now, Kiev. So I'm gonna need a day or two. Hopefully by Christmas morning we'll be in a good place again.
Oh, I feel you, man. It's Monday, so that never helps, Maybe this little Christmas quiz I'm going to give you might cheer you up a little bit. Well, hopefully it does. Makes you get thinking about some positive things. But it is Christmas. Chris and I love to talk about food and other things. So we've covered almost everything in the past. So I'm going to do either or for you. Okay. So it's just going to be, I'm going to ask you, is this or this? What's your preferred on Christmas? And obviously some of these are both really good, and some might be both bad. So I got 7 of them here. We'll start out with the Christmas quiz. How about this? We'll start out right away with sports. On Christmas Day, NFL or NBA?
NFL. That's not even anything, or NBA is always the answer with me. Whatever the other is, that's where I go.
If you ask me in the 90s, I'd probably say NBA because of Jordan, but nope. It's ever since then. It's been
good point. Yes, yeah. You go back to 90s, and then you got an option. But now, no shot.
Okay. Well, here's one that I thought of: scallop potatoes or mashed potatoes.
Mashed.
Okay.
I'm a mashed guy, especially a little. Want to go even more specific? Maybe a little garlic mash.
Yes.
Go with I'm definitely on the team mash.
I love team mash too, my man. I think the big foods, the big holidays. Mash. I certainly wouldn't say no to both though. The scalloped potatoes with cheese.
Sometimes the scalloped potatoes. I don't not that it's too much work, but sometimes they're a little harder to go down. Like it feels a little bit heavier, probably because it is. But mash can just kind of like melt and like slide down. But yes.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Great points on that. So mashed, it is so key to some of these big meals. How about Christmas music on Christmas or Christmas movies on Christmas?
I'm going to say music. Yeah, just because you can have it going on in the background and you're really not paying attention, and you can couple it with just throwing the NFL games on TV and just have a little Christmas music playing in the background.
That's a great point. Now, unfortunately, both of them, they get very tiresome this time of year. We watch the same ones every single year. But that makes sense to me. You have to have a little music on the background because me and you love sports so much. So I agree with that. How about this one? Cheesecake or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. All right, you finish.
Yeah, it's funny. It was funny though. I said to my wife a couple of weeks ago, like, I'm not a huge cheesecake guy, but then a buddy of mine, a coworker, sent me a Junior's cheesecake for the holidays. Like, I like cheese. Growing up in New York, fantastic. Like a good cheesecake. And Junior's cheesecake is certainly that. So there are a little bit of some addendums there, but
yes,
usually you go ice cream and cookies and cream, or coconut ice cream, maybe just something like that. Pralines and cream.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, hard to go wrong with either. But obviously, the ice cream hits the spot for you. I'm going to go cheesecake on this one, just because I want to be a little different. And I mean, with my kids, we have plenty of both usually around the house. So
if you would have said key lime pie, then that's a no-brainer. Like I'm not usually a massive dessert guy. Like I'll have a little sorbet or some ice cream every now and then. But like a good key lime pie, forget it. We were just down in the Keys a couple of weeks ago, and like that was forget it. That was game changer. End End of story right there.
Well, I have a key lime tree in my yard, and
Do you?
they're just smaller limes. I do. I absolutely do. And
Ooh,
there's
I'm
a
gonna have to
ton
come
of
visit. I'm gonna have to come visit and steal some produce.
brother. Anytime. You know where I'm at, Arizona. I'm sure you'll do a game here one of these days. We'll go out and get some lunch or something too.
Yeah.
But my man, I'll give you as many key limes as you want. You want to come
Ooh.
probably September-ish. August, September, October, November are usually the times where we can pull them off the tree.
Here we go. Big noon from Arizona State next year.
There,
I just made the decision for our programmers.
well, fantastic, man. Get them on board. Get it booked. Would love to give you some because we actually can't even use them all. It has so many, so that's fantastic. And we'll work on a recipe for a key lime pie. How about this? Best for dips. This is tough. Cream cheese or sour cream?
Cream cheese, and I have to go cream cheese. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I have to go cream cheese just because of my affinity for the cheese ball. But I will say, like, sometimes, and with the melted, and when you melt it down with the red pepper jam that we were talking about.
Yes, which was delicious.
Sour cream with with like the Knorr's veggie dip or the spinach chip that'll work with the sour cream. But yeah, when you're talking cheese ball and red pepper jam with some that's forget it. That's again easy decision.
Absolutely. So you got two tough ones there. Sour cream is more flexible though. That's the problem. You can do taco.
Yes, exactly.
The avocado dip. There's all kinds of different things you can mix with sour cream, the French onion and the ranch. So yeah, it's just
the 7-layer dips and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's tough. Gingerbread cookies or sugar cookies?
I'm gonna say sugar cookies. I'm not a massive fan of either, but push come to shove, I will go sugar cookie.
Okay, I don't think gingerbread's any good, so that's easy for me. I'm going sugar cookie. I think gingerbread's for the houses, for the kids to make. It doesn't taste nearly as good as sugar cookie. Although I will say the gingerbread coffee creamer is actually pretty good. It's nice and sweet. So for some reason, I like that. All right, here's the big one, Chris. The grand finale of the questions for your main course.
There's my fake drum roll.
There we go. Main course: ham or prime rib?
Well, we're talking for Christmas.
Yes, Christmas.
Ham.
Okay.
I like prime rib, but a good Christmas ham, little spiral cut. Yeah, that's the way it's got to be. Because I think you have prime rib, like I'll have like throughout the year as well. It feels like more of not an everyday type of meal, but you got to a nice dinner, I'll have the prime rib. That's a natural. But ham is one of those things that just kind of feels like it's more appropriately placed for either like a Thanksgiving accompaniment or Christmas or another like holiday. Doesn't feel as every day of a meal as prime rib. So I'm definitely going to go ham.
Yeah, ham is more Christmas to me. Now, I think we might be making both this year, so that'd be awesome. Not doing all the cooking, but I will say that ham gravy, you got to make ham gravy. It's just use the juices from the ham, just use the simple brown gravy. It's just such a
so the salt in it.
The salt
with a little bit of like whether you have maybe some brown sugar or something like in the ham as well.
All the drippings come off. You make the gravy out of it. It's so savory and it's great with the mashed potatoes, just like you said, mashed potatoes. That is just a wonderful mix. So make sure you guys make ham gravy. Great stuff. Well, hey, man, now we're more in the Christmas spirit here. Now let's ruin our days with this.
I'd be more in the Christmas spirit if Josh Allen would have scored a touchdown yesterday. Cost me a $40,000 touchdown scorer parlay. It was the shortest leg of the parlay and the final one, and I didn't have a yes/no market to be able to get off of it. And I'm not a cash out guy. I could have cashed out for $9,000 at halftime, but I'm not cashing out for a quarter of what I potentially could win.
Dang. I know. Well, you know what? And you told me that before the show. That's a bummer. And of course, it's always the weakest leg that should have been the most obvious to cash.
Weakest leg in the last one because I had Jackson Smith and Jigba as one, and he scored right before the half.
I'm
like, I got a freaking shot at this now, and yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. We'll hit another one for you though.
We'll try.
So yeah, like I said, ruin our days. Let's talk about the playoff teams. How did we get to the 4 best teams, or at least 4 of the 5, playing against each other this week in the quarterfinals? How the heck did this happen?
Because the committee has no idea what they're doing in terms of seeding teams, and like they have this infatuation where you've got to give these conference champs got to get a bye. Like you're giving the freaking Mountain West champ a bye because they won a conference with Wyoming and San Diego State and Colorado State. Like, give me a break. Arizona State got a bye. Like, come on. Great story, but and this will be the thing that they'll need to do next year is just seed it here. You put them in. That's fine. You want them in. You won your conference. That's great. But just what are your rankings? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those will be the teams that get the first round bye and move on. That's an easy fix right there. But like my issue with the seeding this year is, and what's aided in causing the problem is, how did the team, like, you want to place this emphasis on conference championships and the regular season mattering, and you won your conference and that's a reward and good for you. How the hell did Penn State and Texas, the teams that lost the conference championship games, get an easier road through the quarters than Georgia and Oregon, the teams that won their conference against those teams? Like,
blows your mind.
How did they?
Texas
what I want to know is who in the room, apparently nobody, like, saw those rankings and they had the bracket on the board. Here's where we're gonna, like, who in the room didn't like looked at it. Oh yeah, we got this. Oh yeah, we could have Oregon play Ohio State again. Oh, and we could have we could have Georgia play Notre Dame, and we, like, who said, yep, nailed it, we got it right.
I don't know.
What are you doing?
It's so crazy that the loser of the SEC championship is playing ASU. They're 14-point favorites. And then Boise State, who's, they had no schedule, gets to play Penn
Great
State.
story.
It's just crazy. It's like, are you trying to just have the good ratings for New Year's Day? Are you trying to make it more important because it's the Rose Bowl? I have no idea. It's an abomination. I mean, people should be able to keep their jobs for making such bad decisions.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I there was such this weekend, it was just social media was just a gross place to be, and everybody had their takes, and I had my takes, obviously. I'm sure you did as well. But I think we all kind of expected, and I just said this earlier, I think we all expected to have blowouts. I mean, we had blowouts in the 4-team playoff. We had blowouts in the BCS title game. Like, the gap between teams is great, but we should have expected it. But again, my biggest issue with it, and again, if you think Indiana or SMU were better, emphasis better than Alabama or Ole Miss or Miami or South Carolina, that's fine. But college football is the most schedule-reliant, schedule-adjusted sport we have for ranking teams, comparing teams, statistics, everything. Right. And to not be able to understand that 11-1 by playing 2 teams that had a team, a winning record, and no wins over anybody, like how that compares to a team that went 9-3 and had a couple of close losses, but they also beat 2 teams that were in the top 10. Like, people have to understand that 9-3 can be better than 11-1. And until the committee uses, and again, I don't know, maybe it's changed in a couple of years since I last went through the committee mock and really went through what the committee used and what the committee can't use in there. Like, I remember there was, at the time, like, they were told that they cannot use computer power ratings as part of their evaluation because they didn't know what went into the computer ranking. So they didn't want to use anything they didn't understand to go into the evaluation. Okay, so you know what? Call Bill Connolly in to have him explain SP+. Yeah. Call Jeff Sagarin in to have him explain what goes into his rating. Have Massey Go in and explain what goes into the Massey rating. Have Seth Walder come in to how FPI is created. Until they use actual power ratings to determine best, we're going to run into this problem every year because the people making the judgments here, these are former coaches, former athletic directors, people who ingrained, like growing up and coaching and playing, win, loss, win. All that matters is win. You are what your record says you are. And in college football, it's not the case. Now, now all the great talk about like cheese ball and dip and ham dripping into gravy and mashed potatoes. Now you got me wound up again.
I should have asked them in different order. My bad. I mean, here's the thing. These are the playoffs is clearly most deserving and not power. It's never been power because they've always had some sort of screw up or issue. I wish they would come out and say that. I just wish they had real parameters to go by because they're just winging it and just using things as an excuse. And then people come up with the conspiracy theories, which maybe have some sort of merit to. I don't know. But I don't have a problem with the teams they left out. I have a problem. I think the problem is just way more advanced that they have Ohio State playing Oregon. That is a massive. That is way more than anything.
How could? And again, I took a ton of shit on Twitter, like leading into Selection Day and on Selection Day. Like I said, Ohio State should be 5. Ohio State has a better resume than Texas or Notre Dame or who else would have been potentially Penn State. Beat Penn State. They beat him and held them without an offensive touchdown on their home field. And there was such an overreaction to the loss to Michigan, the inexpusable, inexplicable loss that day, that they fell way too far, but they beat Penn State. They should have been ranked ahead of them. They had they had wins against Indiana. And whether you think Indiana's any good or not, they beat Indiana. They beat Penn State. That's better wins than Texas had. That's better wins than Notre Dame had. People talk about, Ohio State lost on their home field as a 20-point favorite to Michigan. Notre Dame lost on their home field to a friggin' MAC team. And they're ranked ahead of them. Like how the committee went with put these teams in that order and said nailed it again. That is beyond me. I would have been in the room going nuts had they suggested this being the final ranking. Ohio State should have been 5, and they should be playing ASU this week.
Chris would have chained himself up to the table. They would not have been able to get him out of there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not leaving the room until this gets changed.
You only covered half of that, though. Look what it did to Oregon. I mean, Ohio State 5, so yeah, that's all that. But the other half is just as bad because we just completely screwed over the only undefeated team that we had for the whole century. That they have to play the second best team in the freaking league.
You already beat him. You know what? You're going to have to beat him again. And then if you win that game, you're going to have to go to the Cotton Bowl in Texas and beat Texas. And then maybe, just maybe, if you're able to survive that, you're probably going to have to beat Georgia in Atlanta to win the national title. So you talk about it. Again, there's nothing you can do about that. That's where the title game is going to be. But like you talk about an absolute screw job, and I'm sure Dan Lanning is just loving this, at least from a motivational point, because those great videos that they put out, and I'm sure he's loving it from that standpoint. But from a standpoint of having to actually play Ohio State now in a warm weather controlled environment, with off of Ohio State having some time off now to kind of reconfigure their offensive line and figure out that maybe getting the ball to Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka and the defensive scheme change, like that's the problem.
It's just utterly incompetence. And I'll tell you this, Lanning can't even say anything, because if he says one thing, he'll jinx something he's prepping for. You can't say, Oh, you can't complain about him because it takes confidence away from your players. If my coach complains about the team I'm playing, he can't say anything, you know? So it's just like he's in a no-win situation either. But yeah, man, you and I can go on for hours about this
I know.
whole
I'm sure people are loving this,
debacle.
rehashing all of our venting about the college football playoff rankings.
Let's get in some games then, my man. It is Christmas, and I'm going to try to get you back in the Christmas spirit here. We're going to just look at the days because, you know, there's a lot to cover. And, of course, we'll cover quickly our early thoughts anyway on the college football playoffs here. But we'll start with December 26th because it's the day after Christmas. You got 3 games: Pitt versus Toledo, Toledo +7, total 50. Rutgers, Kansas State -6.5, total 50.5, and Arkansas State versus Bowling Green -7.5, total 53. Have you made any plays or any looks for these 3 games?
I have not made any plays on any of those games. I can't. I could. Is Fannin playing for Bowling Green?
I think so.
I could maybe get behind laying the points there with Bowling Green. Okay. The way their season ended, kind of caught losing on their home field to cost them a shot in the MAC title game. A little disappointing, but I could see this team, the way they're constructed and coached, and with Fannin coming back healthy now. Like I could see BG putting up a good performance there and winning this game. But I have not played that yet. But if I had to play something, that would be the thing that gravitates to me the most. I just don't know if Rutgers could score. Like I'd be all in usually. Take Greg Piano as a dog, but I just don't know if that offense is capable of scoring points.
Yeah, it's always fun to bet on Sunge. We just can't always be sure we're going to win it. That's the problem. Bowling Green, I laid 7.
Is it really fun to bet Sunge? Really?
You've got to be really picking your spots. Let's just say. I laid 7 with Bowling Green. I'd lay up to 9. It's 7.5 now. I was hoping it'd still be at 7, but you know, Arkansas State's the worst team in my power ratings anyway, and a lot of the public ones out there, they're in the hundreds in Sager. They're the worst team in bowl season. Bowling Green's got a +2 net yard per play advantage over them. And I will, if I was a caveat to go the opposite, I will say Butch Jones has been good in bowl games, but I just feel that Bowling Green's going to run away from this one. And there's a lot of people not playing for Arkansas State too. Yeah, Bowling Green had a fantastic season. I thought they were going to win the MAC. If you remember, you and I talked, and Ralph talked about that before. It's just one that just barely didn't get there. So we have an agreement there. Let's move to December 27th then. And there's quite a few games. I think there's 5 games. There's Oklahoma Navy +3, total 43. Georgia Tech Vanderbilt +2.5, total 51.5. Texas Tech Arkansas -1.5, total 52. Syracuse Washington State +16, total 59.5. And USC hosting. Well, I guess they're the home team in Allegiant Stadium. I shouldn't say hosting, but they might have some fans there. +3.5, total 52. Chris, anything on December 27th?
Yeah, I mean, I already had played Navy +7 and played Navy +190 something on the money line. I talked about that on Bear Best Pod a couple of weeks ago, and then that line literally was moving. Literally, we got done recording the pod, and that thing started going to 4.5, like sure right. So, I mean, unfortunately, it's the poor timing award. I would and did lay the 3.5 with Texas A&M. From what I hear, USC is not a good place right now. Alumni are not happy, NIL people are not happy. The 2 deep that they're going to field in this game is going to be pretty tragic. It's just a question of how does A&M approach this game and going out to Allegiant. Like, are they disappointed with the way their season ended? But I would think Mike Elko, in his first year in College Station, I think rebuilding that culture, if they can get a win over SC to finish the year, would be a good thing. I did lay 3.5 with A&M, and I don't know how you do anything with the Holiday Bowl. At some point, is it too many against Washington State, who probably you and I could dress for right now? I mean, if you didn't get down on Syracuse early, and then how can you lay 16 now?
I can't now, and it almost might motivate the leftovers there. It is a massive spread. It's probably going to be one of my top ones on my bowl challenges. But yeah, it's I think Syracuse should wipe the floor with them. I was thinking the only way to do that, Chris, was be a Washington State team total under that you got to wait for maybe a day or two before those start popping up. Washington State team total under I don't hate because I mean, this Syracuse scores a lot of points. If the total's 59.5, you expect Syracuse to score a lot, but they can also take the foot off the gas. So that's the only one I'm looking at. But we texted, and I'm on Navy as well. I think Navy wins the game, and I think that plus 130 is a good idea. Norman's close, and they're only 185 miles away, but I don't see how Oklahoma can be motivated here. And they just have a ton of people leaving. They don't have a receiver in the room. I was thinking maybe me and you can play receiver there. As long as
I don't know. I don't know. I might be able to be like the blocking tight end, maybe.
Pre-Christmas dinner. Not after Christmas dinner. We can't play it after Christmas dinner, but pre-Christmas dinner. I don't see why they're going to try to stop a hit you in the mouth team that's all showing up, all the kids showing up from Navy. Yeah, they're going to be motivated to win this game. I think they win the game. Plus 130 is what you can get right now. Plus 135, shop it. I like that. And I do like Georgia Tech to win too. I think Georgia Tech was a little bit under the radar kind of this year. They did have some big upsets. Vanderbilt with Pavia, great run. But the truth is that defense is so bad on Vanderbilt. I don't think that they're going to stop Georgia Tech, and the fact that I heard Haynes King is playing is really cool. And it's Pavia versus King, but I just think that Georgia Tech's a little bit better. But I did take a money line, Chris, so that's the only way I do it. I don't want to lay 2.5. I took them on the money line a couple days, a week ago. I got minus 125. It's minus 135. So let's do that.
This feels like one of those games that both teams are going to care, and both teams. I know Singleton went in the portal, but I mean, this will be a game where both of these teams care.
Yeah, that's very true.
Which is a rarity in a bowl game these days.
Very rare. I think this is an underrated bowl game, by the way, the Georgia Tech Vanderbilt. That's one people should probably try to watch if they can. Saturday, December 28th. There's 8 games on Saturday, Chris. Crazy. It's almost like a college football Saturday again. We got UConn versus North Carolina. North Carolina -3 now, total 52.5. Boston College, Nebraska up to 3.5. That thing moved a point since this morning. 45 is the total. Louisiana versus TCU. TCU -12.5, total 58. Iowa State versus Miami -3.5, 55.5. Miami, Ohio, Colorado State +3, and total 40.5. Very low total for the Snoop Dogg Bowl. East Carolina. NC State -6.5, total 58.5. BYU, Colorado down to -4. This was 5.5 earlier today. Total 54.5. And Louisiana Tech versus Army. Another. This might be the biggest spread of bowls. It was just 17.5, but it's at 17 now. The total's 44. Anything pre-flop on Saturday? I know, right?
Gross. I am inclined to think over 55.5 with Miami and Iowa State. I know Cam Ward is expected to play. I just wonder, the thing that's causing me a little bit of hesitation in sending this in is just not knowing if this is going to be a situation where you want to play, go play a quarter. We're going to give you the standing O that you rightfully deserve after the year that you've had. Play a quarter, then we're going to let Emory Williams play to kind of look ahead to 2025. We don't want you getting hurt and screw up your draft status, as you're going to be a very high pick in the draft. And then in the flip, Miami defense is absolutely atrocious. Like they can't stop anything. And you've got a couple of good wide receivers, and you got Rocco Beck, and you got an offense that should be able to move the ball and score some points. And certainly after their no-show in the Big 12 championship game, you'd think they'd want to come out and put a big number on the board. So I would lean over 55.5. Again, I wish I could get a little bit more clarity on the Cam Ward deal.
Okay, lean over on the Iowa State Miami. No, fair enough. I didn't make a bet on Saturday yet either, so I find that weird.
How can you?
I know. You can't without a good matchup where you have good data like the playoffs. You can't. In this day and age, someone's going to shock you and just sit out, and that's why I'm not laying with Nebraska. I kind of wish I got 2.5, but what if Raiola? They say he can command $12.5 million right now.
No chance. No chance.
That's what they're saying.
No chance.
I'll send you that tweet then, man, because someone put it out there that
no shot.
Prominent.
No shot.
Okay, well maybe he still sits out. That's the point. That's
Yes,
what I
correct.
don't want. That's what I don't want to happen if I'm stuck on Nebraska and this thing flips on me, right? I do think
Exactly.
Nebraska has the defense that can stop Boston College rush game because Boston College, that's all they do is really run the
Hmm.
ball for the most part. And Nebraska ranked 19th in defensive rush EPA is the only reason I was looking at that. But dude, this is for a lot of games on Saturday, this is a freaking terrible slate, man. And awful, man. Awful. I guess Colorado's the only thing I would care to watch, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And again, like I maybe I see a 3.5 out there at the Superbook. Maybe you could lay 3.5 there. Like again, like give Deion Sanders and that team credit. Like he's saying, at least they're saying all the right things with Shedeur and Travis Hunter that they're playing. And again, could it be a deal where they play a half? Could they play a quarter? Like, do we know? But knowing Deion and knowing the attitude that they have about the team, and like maybe they do go out and play the entire game. And you and I both know that BYU is a little bit of a fraudulent record, and maybe, but again, I think the biggest question, and me laughing at you for saying you haven't made a single bet on Saturday, is, and you said about data, like the data doesn't mean shit in these games because the data is built on players and that were playing all year that aren't playing now. So it's all just bad math and numbers that are noise. So unless it's one of these college football playoff games, the data that we've been relying on, the power ratings we've been using all year, like it's the use of it's muted.
Absolutely. And that's why if I mean, and I'm not saying I'm going to experiment this, but you could literally take the money line dogs and out of these crap games, Miami, Ohio, Colorado State, you can just do that and maybe you win. I mean, I think your chances, just so much more variance that a couple of them will be live. It's just that, Colorado didn't play BYU this year in the Big 12. So that's why I kind of think that they will be motivated to just kind of stick it to the big BYU. It was sitting nicely high in the rankings until ASU whooped them. So that was, that's significant for Colorado to maybe make that last stamp for Deion. So that's a good.
Maybe I'm just going to sit on the couch on Saturday night. I'm going to put my BYU quarterback shirt on. I'm going to put my Deion shades on, and I'm just going to watch a college football game.
Why not? We don't need something on it. Maybe live bet something if you're feeling good. But then, yeah, that's a good idea. And maybe something's going to come to you because at least on the day of, we'll get our lineup information. If it's not too convoluted, then you can make a decision. What's really weird though, Chris, is on Monday, December 30th, there's only one bowl game. I found that very strange to do that. It's Iowa versus Missouri, and Missouri's -3. The total is 40. I didn't play this yet, but if I had to, I'd play Iowa. I feel like Kirk Ferentz at 12-7-1 ATS has really proven himself, but the problem is Drinkwitz is 3-0 in the bowls. So
again, two teams and two coaches that are going to care about a game, which is good, and there'll probably be a really good atmosphere, a really good crowd in Nashville. So yeah, this will be one of those rare games that you're probably going to want to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I love rare games, and it's a standalone game, and there's obviously, I think 1 or 2 NFL Monday night games. Just funny, the NFL's got 3 games going on Saturday too. So if these games are killing you, can always switch over.
I haven't fully locked in the portal and opting out. I'm assuming Burden and Cook are not playing for Missouri.
I'll look right now, and I don't know if you see Stuckey's article, but it's really good.
Yes.
I have that up all the time, especially the whole month of December.
That would be my question with Missouri. Like if their full team is playing, I'd consider laying the points with Missouri here.
Well, it says potential opt-outs is Brady Cook, Theo Weiss, opt-outs Luther Burden, and Armand Membao. So
Burden is out. Okay,
Burden is out. So that's a burden on their offense.
Yeah,
pun intended. So I agree. And what's up, Bobby? Thanks for stopping by. Really cool that you're listening in. And we have another question we got to get into from somebody as well as soon as we get to that game. But now let's move into the 31st, which is Tuesday, New Year's Eve. Now big games going on. Oh, this moved. Ooh. Bama versus Michigan. Michigan
Yes,
plus
it did
13
move.
now.
Ooh.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Plus
well,
13.
now it's time to jump in. There we
Oh,
go.
I wish I could say the same thing. I already did, but I expected Milrow to not play, but it looks like he's going to play. Louisville versus Washington. Washington plus 2.5, total 49.5. And Illinois hosting South Carolina. South Carolina plus 9.5, total 48. LSU plus 1.5, hosting Baylor, total 59.5. And then you have Penn State, obviously,
Yeah.
Boise State. We'll wait for Penn State, Boise State. What about the other ones?
Well, I get a CLV award. You get a CLV award for Baylor. Perfect.
You sure do, my man.
Let's see if we can move it. Let's see if we can move it again, and or not we, but if it does move again, and maybe I can get a little +3 with Baylor and a little +3 with LSU, and maybe we'll get lucky, right?
That's very possible, but I do think Baylor, as I said with you during Thanksgiving, and me and you were both had the best bets that week with Baylor. Yep. I think they are the best team in the Big 12, especially with ASU's injury. And so I took Baylor money line this morning at -111, and that's already moving too. So I'll give it out at -120 right now, but I could see Baylor being the favorite here soon. So great job on the CLV, Chris, as always. It's anticipation is the biggest thing, and that's huge. I did take Michigan plus 11 or 10.5. I have to look. I understand why it went back. Alabama can play with Michigan in the trenches as long as they're not as stupid as Ryan Day was and running the ball up the middle 20 times. Then they should be all right, most likely. So I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit, but you know what? There's plenty of ways out of this. I can live bet out of it if Bama's looking really good.
Right.
I'm still a little bit thinking that DeBoer was a little over his skis. Bama is just an extreme high variance team that nothing surprises you. They're a top 6 team, probably power rating wise, right? One of the top teams in the nation. Mm-hmm. But that can beat anybody. But what if we see that stink bomb that they light off every once in a while? That would not be good, especially in a situation where you don't know their motivation. Now, I would assume the revenge spot from last year should kind of affect some of these kids, but maybe not. I don't know. That's what we're trying to bet right now. But bad CLV, shame on me for that one.
That's okay. The move in the Notre Dame Indiana game went against me with the total, and that wound up being a no sweat under. So, dude, I thought I was getting the best of the number, 51.5, and then I see 52s pop up there. I'm like, here. I'm like, you know what? Good, that's fine. I don't mind the half-point move, and that worked out well.
And that's a perfect segue to the playoffs here, Chris, because Dogs got their asses kicked last week.
Yes, they did.
And they were. What I said is that the stage was too big for some of them.
Totally.
And then guess what? I actually did take Indiana plus 8.5 on the opener as a line grab. I just never bought back, and I should have. And of course, it comes down to a 2-point conversion where he almost gets it, and the books would have got middle probably, right? I would expect the books to get middled in that situation, but no, I just dropped it. They had no business being in that game as far as they did anyway. Notre Dame just, let off the gas and onside kick. But that's a good segue because I feel like you might get some of the same stuff here. You have Penn State versus Boise State, and Boise State plus 11, man. I mean, that's a double-digit spread for a team that's supposed to be good. And the total is 52. I mean, even though you think that's going to be run, would it shock you if Penn State puts up over 45 points here?
Not at all. I would expect Penn State to put up 40 points here.
Yeah. I'm looking at the over, maybe. There's no way I'm taking the dog. I would rather lay it with Penn State here than I would take the points. I think that, being in the neutral, and I expect more Penn State people. I'm sure Boise State will travel pretty well. I'll give Penn State a little bit for home field over there, but I just think that this is going to be too low of a total. I'll take the over.
Yeah, I would agree. It looks like it looks like the total's come down. Well, it looked like it opened 54.5, and now we're looking 52. So I wonder if we can get any lower. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the Penn State offensive line should be able to wear down the Boise. The trenches are an absolute mismatch, and you're looking at a team that is going to have to be reliant Gentina. Now, look, they can throw a little bit, and Madsen has made some plays through the air, but against that defense, I'm not sure. Like I know people are going to point to the Oregon game and said, "Oh, they went to Autzen and lost by a field goal." This is a completely different animal here. So yeah, it would be favored and over for me, which I know makes me super square. But hey, Super Square has been winning this year in the NFL like every single week, and Super Square won every single one of the. Actually, I shouldn't say that because there was a lot of dog love for Tennessee as well. So
Yeah, there was.
Usually the favorites have been covering all year in the NFL. So maybe I'll hop on board here with the Square train.
Well, Chris, I
like your assessment of the over more than I do laying the points.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, in last week I laid 23 with Ohio State. It kind of started going against me, but that was a live bet. It's like I was mad at myself because I was like, I'm going to live bet this. Tennessee's probably good. Ohio State starts slow, and I'm like, I'll get a better number. I got gradient because I was on your side. I was like, I'm thinking of laying 7.5 with Ohio State. I was on your side, and then it just went against me. I still hit that, but I also lost my under bet because I tried to live under it when it got to 50.5, and I just didn't expect Tennessee's defense to be that rough and Ohio State to look that good. And it was just one of those, man. I lost my under bets on Texas too. Texas still scoring, man. So that was rough.
Yeah. We knew Clemson was going to have a very difficult time stopping the run because they had very difficult time stopping the run all year long against the good backs that they had faced. But yeah, the Ohio State game was a shining light in the weekend for me. That was a little bit disappointing on Sunday for sure. But I had talked about it with Gil Alexander on a numbers game on Friday about it kind of laying some, and even on Bear Bets Pod, kind of laddering Ohio State and laying some alt numbers at some nice plus prices. And if you did, congratulations.
Good. Congratulations, absolutely. Let's move on to Texas, Arizona State. Arizona State plus 14, total 52. Dude, I think this is a good number. I mean, my power ratings actually even have it like 12.5, but I would not take the points with Arizona State. I think this is another situation, big stage situation where a team's not used to being there. I think Texas is going to have a 1 to 2 home field advantage out in Georgia there. So I think the fans will be more for Texas, in my opinion. And I think that this is another situation where now I'm scared to bet the under. Yeah, I can speak. I'm scared, man. I'm serious. Like ASU's defense is bad, and they haven't played a defense. They haven't played a defense all year, and it sucks because I love the Scattaboo and all that. And they lost their best receiver to injury against the U of A game, the Arizona game, which was such a crap game to lose your best receiver in. It is what it is, man. I'm staying completely away from this game.
I lost the Clemson team total under 19.5. I'm going to go back to that well with Arizona State here under whatever the team total is going to be. I haven't seen what it is yet. I don't know if it's up 9 days out or whatever we are right now from doing this. But again, I think it was Bud Elliott who had sent out a tweet like Arizona State better defensive line faced. What they're going to face against Texas or the 4 best defensive linemen they faced all year in the Big 12. And it's kind of funny and tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, it's a great point. Like
you can make an all-star game against you can make an all-star game in the Big 12 and the Texas's defensive line would be better than the all-star team.
I can't see Arizona State having any success. Scattaboo is great, but there's no threat of a pass game. Their offensive line is probably going to get manhandled up front by Texas. ASU team total would be the way I would play this. Again, does the game get so far out of hand that maybe Texas takes the foot off the gas a little bit? I wouldn't think so, just because I think the way that game against Clemson went, where Clemson kind of worked their way back in the game, like I would think you're going to see 60 minutes from Texas, and if they do show for 60 minutes, that's going to be a very bad result for the Sun Devils.
Would that be 33-19 to get to 52, right? And then you're looking at 14 points right there. So
and that's saying that ASU is going to hold Texas to 33.
right, of course. And so that's why you're looking at the team total more. They probably don't get to 17, I guess, right? That's kind of
that's what I was going to say. They'll probably put. You think they'll go if they go 16 and a half, that would be nice. And they might even go less than that.
Well, I wrote that down because I'm kind of with you on that. So I'm going to wait till it comes out as well. Let's move on to Ohio State, Oregon. Oregon plus 2.5, total 54. So this is a question from Big Al. He's asking me why this line flipped. He says, I must have missed some news. Did something happen? Oregon was minus 132 in the look ahead, and now they're plus 2.5 in the game, or was it just Ohio State's performance? And I'm pretty sure it's just Ohio State's performance that moved this line.
But they were also favored at Autzen by a field goal. So like it shouldn't be too like I think those DraftKings and FanDuel look ahead numbers were a little off because I talked to Chris Andrews and Vinny Malaiolo on Friday, and I said, I know you guys hate playing like the hypotheticals but I'm like if we get Oregon, Ohio State, I'm like Ohio State's going to open 1.5, right? And I think he said my number actually is going to be a little higher. So
yeah,
it shouldn't be too surprising that Ohio State opened where they got bet up to where they did, considering where they were at Autzen, considering they lost by a point on the road in a highly competitive game, and now you have Ohio State kind of figured out their offensive line a little bit. They're obviously the offensive scheme a little bit. Now they know, okay, Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith, that's the strength of our offense. We're doing that. And most importantly, the defensive scheme, the kind of the change coupled with that loss at Oregon, things are a little bit different. So if we get the Ohio State that we got on Saturday night, that team is very capable of winning the national championship. This is still a good Oregon team, and they're experienced, and they got weapons. So it would not surprise me at all to see Oregon win this game.
Oh, I have these two teams in the top and 1 and 2, and really equal though. I don't know what to do with it because I really think that Danny Lanning is the better trustable coach, and I think that could play a difference like it did their last game. I think that Ryan Day's got a little bit more of the skill, the NFL, just a little bit more, right, on some of those positions there, Sawyer and, those guys on defense, and obviously all skill positions on offense, Jeremiah Smith and everybody. I feel like Oregon's the most complete team. Ohio State's the most skilled team in the whole thing. And I said Notre Dame's the most dangerous team. So I think that any three I'll seriously take. If it was 3 on Oregon side, I would take it. If it was 3 on Ohio State side, I would take it, Chris, just for a numbers grab. And I think that'd be an okay play. But I don't think it gets it.
No, I don't think it will either. I'd be surprised. And if it does, you better have the screen up right away and fire right away because it'll last 90 seconds.
All right. Well, let's see if you have a play in the final game of the playoffs. And I just want to say real quick, I think that Oregon Ohio State should have been the national championship game. Let's leave it at that.
They should have been on.
Yeah.
Or at least the semis, or at least the semis.
Notre Dame, Georgia.
2 of the best 4 teams in the country, maybe 2 of the best 3, or maybe the best 2.
Yeah, I have Ohio State, just like I said, I have them 2. It's not like there's a big separation between Notre Dame and Georgia, but Notre Dame and Georgia also start playing each other. And Georgia's minus 1.5, total 44. Chris, I do have play in this one. I was wondering if you made one pre-flop here, or
I did make a play. I like over 44.
Okay.
I think I'm not gonna. I have a ton of Georgia futures, but again, it's too early for me to kind of try and play my way out of it because, if they were to beat Notre Dame and then I'm chasing again when they play Penn State, it's hard for me to do. So, maybe I'll play a little Notre Dame money line, but I think this is a higher scoring game. I think Georgia's offensive line against the Notre Dame defensive line with the injury now. I think they can kind of.
How bad is his injury?
Well, he's out for the year. They announced that he's out. He has a knee injury, so they thought initially after the game that they could have him back in the playoff, but I saw a story today that announcing that he is done, which sucks. But I think Obviously, Georgia, you're not going to get any sympathy from Georgia, being that they lost their starting quarterback for the year and some other players throughout the year as well. But I think Georgia will be able to run the ball on Notre Dame. And on the flip side, who knows what the quarterback run game and Love, how they will do against the Georgia defense, which has given up some yards and points at times this year. So over 44 is where I landed here early on, and again, no play on the side.
All right. No, that's fair. I have Notre Dame, and I like them at +1.5, even with the injury there. I thought the other guys filled in pretty well. And when you're talking about a Notre Dame team, they do have depth. It's not quite as much as Ohio State's, but it's there. I can't bet a team with a true freshman quarterback just going into the situation. The truth is that he did not really look that good against Texas when he came in. And the bottom line was, it was Georgia's defense that won the game. Now, does Georgia's defense step up? Probably. Is it going to be enough to keep it under the total? I doubt it. I think, like I said, Notre Dame's the most dangerous team. They have a 1.12 net yard per play advantage. Now, yeah, their schedule is a little bit easier, but they have a quarterback. I mean, this could be the biggest no-duh slap in the face that you might see, is like, holy cow, that's a freshman quarterback there, and they're going to give him fits. And I think that's where the coach, Freeman, is going to scheme up some stuff on defense to really force him into some mistakes here. This is not the Georgia team we saw for the past 5 years. They're only ranked 35th in defensive EPA. They're less than 1 yard per play themselves. I mean, Georgia used to be in the twos, man, 2.3 and 2.5, 2.7. This is a problem with the true freshman quarterback. He's going to have a lot on his plate.
He's a sophomore, Stockton. He's been there.
Okay. Well, he is a thrown.
It's funny. I talked to a bunch of people around Georgia who are familiar with that program, who have been there and been at practice, and be like, he can play. But again, I don't know what we're expecting from him. I know you aren't expecting much, but I think, just to play devil's advocate with you, I think the fact that he's going to get nearly a month now of reps with the ones day in and day out. He's been practicing against the one defense, but to be practicing with the ones on offense now, I think that will help him. And I also think it kind of gives Mike Bobo and Kirby Smart a little bit of an edge, per se, at least in terms of game plan, because I think now they're going to be able to run some wrinkles. Stockton certainly appears to be a little bit more of a runner, a little bit more of a short pass, which could help maybe with screens and slants and quick hitters and some design quarterback runs. So maybe they're able to surprise Notre Dame with some of the things they can draw up early on.
I saw Curtis Rourke play against Notre Dame, and he better be a hell of a lot better than him, because that defense was jumping routes and grabbing passes, and I am seriously concerned for Georgia in this. Don't get me wrong, Georgia still has a successful season. They won the SEC. They made the playoffs, and now they just don't have that quarterback. If this was in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I'd probably think differently, but I'm going to say that Notre Dame's going to have half the crowd there, man, out in New Orleans. Is that fair? I think Notre Dame guys travel very well. They might even have a little bit more of an advantage.
They'll definitely be a huge Notre Dame contingent there for sure. I don't know if it'll be enough one way or another to really give an edge, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a momentum game, and of course, Notre Dame has to play their game. Obviously, the quarterback's got to show how he got there, and they've been, ever since that awful loss they had. And I remember what happened to Ohio State. They lost to Virginia Tech, and just the rest was history. It kind of feels like that situation to me a little bit, Notre Dame. So let's just cover the rest of the days. You got January 2nd, Duke versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss -14.5, total 52. Friday, January 3rd, North Texas versus Texas State, -13.5, Chris. Another massive spread.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota versus Virginia Tech, Minnesota -6.5. And that's also on January 3rd. And then finally, January 4th, Buffalo, Liberty +2, total 51. Anything you're kind of keying in on?
I hate saying what I did bet early on, but there was like an 11.5. I think it was rogue at FanDuel early on with Ole Miss, and I grabbed that. I would still lay 14.5 with Ole Miss, and normally you worry about these SEC teams who don't make the playoff and their motivation, but I think the X factor here is Lane Kiffin, and they are playing Duke. and I believe Dart's going to play, and a lot of these people are going to play for Ole Miss. The fact that Duke is an SMU opponent, and SMU survived against them on a blocked field goal or PAT, whatever it was late, that's an SMU win. I think Lane Kiffin, we've seen him in social media, be very active, be very outspoken, being very vocal. I think he is out to prove a point and win this game by as many points as he can to kind of back up his bravado and back up his talk. And I can see it now, like the post-game tweet, like putting up like SMU, whatever was it, 28-27 or something like that, whatever the SMU Duke final score was compared to Ole Miss 47. Duke.
Oh, he already has it tweeted. He has it ready. It's just going to be auto sent.
Exactly. Yeah. You schedule update the final, and it goes. So yeah, this could be a very, very, very ugly game in Jacksonville.
I don't disagree with that. I have Ole Miss as one of the certain teams that could massively blow them out, and possibly Duke doesn't even score. I think a Duke team total under is not a bad situation either. So I'm going to be looking at that when that comes up.
And Malik Murphy's gone too, so Duke doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah, somehow Oregon State got him. Which I'm like,
what a weird career arc for Malik Murphy. Like, you go from Texas to Duke to now Oregon State, which is like basically a Big Sky program.
Yeah, it's nothing. That program is going in the wrong direction. I don't understand that move. No amount of, I mean, I wouldn't say no amount of money, but Jesus, man. If anyone is even close to that offer, I would go somewhere else for my chances to possibly maybe move to the next level. So it just makes no sense. I'm going to look at Minnesota. I know they're -6.5 right now. I'm definitely not betting it early. Virginia Tech is obviously out with Kylan Drones and a few other guys. A couple of other quarterbacks are banged up. But it's mostly because PJ Fleck is 9-2-1 ATS this year. Or not this year. Yeah, he is this year. No, actually in Bowls, he's 4-1. 9-2-1 ATS this year. So, sorry, I wrote that wrong. But I will say that shows me he really cares about covering, man. I think he's a good covering coach. Of course, it's a secondary thing to his mind. But he's a great covering coach, and I can see them winning this game. So we'll key in on that. But that brings us to our beer bet bangers, Chris. Any plus money long shots that you have in mind?
Now, I do, but it's not in college football. Like, is that okay?
Okay, that is great. Absolutely, we will have to hear about anything. We'll bet on anything, my man. Quicker races.
Yeah, I would look at plus 1,000, 10-1 on Manchester City to get relegated from the English Premier League, and I say that not thinking that they're going to actually do it on their own merit by losing the rest of the year. But I think there's a really good chance that the verdict with the 115 charges against them, I think it comes down where they get docked a ton of points this year. And City certainly have a ton of injuries and a ton of issues, and they've been bad, and they're not going to make Champions League. But I think I wonder if there's this little bit of a handshake agreement or understanding or nod that Pep Guardiola has announced he's going to come back next year. He's going to fulfill his contract. And I wonder if it's like, okay, they know they're going to get hit hard. Pep, stay. We're going to go down to the championship next year. We'll win it, get us back up for the following year to get us in a good spot. So, again, this is just me playing a little bit of kind of forecasting, conspiracy theory. Maybe it's something, maybe it's not. But at 10-1, I'm willing to take a chance on Man City to get relegated at the end of the year.
To get relegated. See, that's stuff I don't know about. I don't bet soccer. I know you tweet about every morning though. So it's like Chris is on something this morning. Yeah. No, that's great. I love 10-1. That's a hell of a beer bet banger. And so we'll give you credit for that if that comes up. I'm just gonna stick with the Notre Dame thing. I really think, and I'll answer my next question about who wins the national champion. I think it's going to be Oregon or Ohio State. I'm not sure which one. But I will say that the fact that I think that Notre Dame's going to get there, I'll bet them 7-1 to get to the national championship, and just for a beer bet banger for the fun of the show. And maybe I'll hedge it out of it if I'm feeling frisky. But there you have it. That's 2 beer bet bangers for you. Chris, who wins the national championship?
I picked in my little Fox Sports asked me to do a little thing bracket, fill it out, and I got Ohio State.
All right, Ohio State. I like it. No, I think that was a contrarian play, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of people that went
I think there was too much of an overreaction. I went through it again with the loss to Michigan. I don't ever want to say a loss to Michigan could be the best thing that could happen to Ohio State, but Ohio State has a Michigan problem, not an overall overarching grand scheme of things problem. Like that team is more talented than probably anyone in the country. I know, the offensive line's got some issues, but on a neutral field, I'll pick them to beat anybody.
All right. Well, there you go. Ohio State for the national championship. I don't disagree with you. I know the NFL lines came out. Anything in the NFL yet?
Oh, you see the list of quarterbacks that like we could potentially be seeing in the NFL this week, like DTR, Mason Rudolph, Mac Jones. We have Aiden O'Connell.
So bad.
Spencer Rattler. Like, goodness gracious, there are some Kenny Pickett could maybe start for Jalen Hurts. Like, my goodness, how the hell could you bet anything with this dog shit league? But I would actually lay the 2.5. I would lay the 2.5 with Kansas City and Pittsburgh. I know the Steelers say that they're going to get a bunch of guys back, but the fact that the Chiefs can get that 1 seed, if they can win on Christmas, you're not playing another meaningful game until January 18th or 19th at the earliest. You get to punt next week against Denver in the last regular season game. You got a couple of weeks of that is a massive opportunity for the Chiefs and all their veterans to kind of heal up. Pittsburgh's been a great story this year, but I think I'll lay the 2.5 with Kansas City here.
Look at that, and their money line's not that good. It's minus 142 and drafting.
Or you could do that.
Yeah, well, I normally do if it's like minus 135, but it's not. It's 2.5, and it's not even minus 135. It's so weird. That's just the book's not releasing it yet, basically. But I'll look at a money line. Maybe you get down to 2, and Pittsburgh's a little bit of a public dog. I agree with you. I think the whole, just love for Pittsburgh was just based upon them being fortunate. Their schedule was supposed to be really hard, but some of those teams weren't that hard this year that we thought were going to be hard. It just happened. And look at Chris busting out a Christmas play for us. That is amazing.
Merry Christmas.
Well, I got something worse for you. I took the Jets at +10, and this is maybe the first time I bet on the Jets since early in the season. And
the only side I played in the NFL yesterday was Jets +3.
Yeah, I laid the Rams when it got down to 3, so I was fortunate that I was like, okay, this is the Jets, but the only thing reason I like 10, they play Buffalo hard, they beat Buffalo they lost to Buffalo by 3.
Yep, close game.
Buffalo's got defensive issues still. Quarterback's a little banged up. I'm not sure how bad his elbow is, but something. And Aaron Rodgers.
So you played this already?
I played 10. I think it gets down to 7.5. I think
that was going to be my follow-up, because if the Chiefs win on Christmas, this game means absolutely nothing for the Bills.
Absolutely.
So you would assume that this line would come down. So that was my rationale.
It's a good rationale too, because that's a backup too. Now, I think that even if it doesn't, the skill of the receivers, Garrett Wilson, Dante Adams, Aaron Rodgers, say what you want. I just think they keep it within 10. So that's another thought of mine as well. But here we are, Chris. We got the playoffs ahead of us. We got a great Bear Bets pod we're about to listen to this week. Where can our listeners get your great information?
Yeah, Bear Bets pod. We're going to record day after Christmas this week. College football playoff quarterfinals. This week of NFL DREC. That we have going on, and we'll obviously have a little bit of clarity on the Chiefs, Steelers, and the Ravens, Texans as well. But yeah, Thursday that will be up, and I'm sure I'll have a bunch of other stuff throughout the week as well.
All right, man. Make sure you guys check out Chris Fallica. Chris, keep me posted on what you're munching on this Wednesday on Christmas.
We will.